It is 10:30 here in New York City, and we are now taking you live to the Vatican, Rome, Italy, where we have reached a critical moment. We have reached the time right before the conclave begins. It's called the procession of the Cardinals. You have more than 130 about to enter the Sistine Chapel in moments where they will hold a secret ballot, at least one, maybe several, maybe a day, maybe several days. But in the end, they will elect the next pope for 1.4 billion Catholics worldwide. Jonathan Morris, Fox News contributor, Stephen White, executive director of the Catholic Project, Catholic University, join Dana and me from New York. And gentlemen, welcome to our coverage. And Jonathan, why don't we begin with you? Set the scene, set the stage there from the Vatican.
Bill and Dana, the hearts of these cardinals are pounding right now. I know that for a fact, being with some of them last night, just hours before entering into the conclave, as one of them referred to it as the great lockdown. And their phones were either left at home or they were taken by the Vatican, put in a plastic bag, sealed, and put their names on it. They are now in the Pauline Chapel, getting ready to begin a ceremony that leads them into the great Sistine Chapel, where they will be in front of Michelangelo's imposing masterwork of the Last Judgment. This is a moment that many of them never believed would have happened, and here they are.
Stephen, one of the things I learned this morning and listening to a report was that because the Cardinals have been out and about, maybe having a coffee here or there, that you even have some waiters who will say, I think I know who it's going to be. But truly nobody knows. What is the feeling like there in Rome over the last several days?
Well, it's an intimidating thing to be doing for the Cardinals, and most of these men are doing it for the first time. I think the gravity of the moment is not lost on any of them. The secrecy that's required of them, I think, is taken seriously. The liturgical celebrations we're seeing now aren't just for show. They're part of a reminder of all, sort of the weight of the moment. We'll hear the litany of the saints, as we've heard before, not just a reminder of all the saints who have come before them, but of the tradition that has its living edge here in this moment in the Church, going back 2,000 years to Christ himself. All of that is on their minds as they make a choice. And I don't know that any of them know who the next pope will be, even the men in that room. They probably have a better idea than I do. But I think that a lot of them are still praying and trying to discern how they should cast their ballot.
To both of you then, they're about to start the singing of Veni Creator, which means come Creator. And they're asking the Holy Spirit to give them guidance to make the best decision for the Church. And as we watch and listen to that, Jonathan, what is the best direction for the Church based on the conversations there in Rome?
A lot of talk has surrounded whether we need a Pope Francis II or something radically different or somewhere in between. Pope Francis was amazing at reaching out and making people feel welcomed and loved, especially the unchurched. People, as he talked about, as being on the periphery of society. But a lot of cardinals have been saying in these days, especially after the funeral, hold on, that's wonderful, that's evangelization, but we also need to protect and communicate what holds us together and has held us together for the last 2,000 years, which are the teachings of Jesus Christ himself as interpreted and passed down by the Church through sacred tradition. And that might mean, Bill, that they're looking for somebody with a little bit more of a traditional Orthodox approach.
Okay, Stephen, I'll give you a chance to answer, but we just want our audience to take in what we're all watching and listening to now in Vatican City.
I think Jonathan's right.
cardinals are now entering the Sistine Chapel, following the various assistants and the Vice Cardinal and the Secretary of the College of Cardinals, the first of the Cardinal Deacons, the most recently named Cardinal
Some of the
Deacon.
sounds from the Vatican that is providing the signal for us here. And Stephen, I said I'd let you answer it. I heard you say, I agree with Jonathan. So complete your thought.
Yeah, I agree with what Jonathan said. I think what we're seeing is a conclave that has to measure how much continuity they want with Pope Francis. Yes to the mercy, yes to the being open, yes to the evangelization. Pope Francis liked to say and encourage especially young people to make a mess now and then for the sake of conveying the freshness of the gospel. I think the Cardinals might be looking for someone who maybe isn't exactly going to clean house, but who's willing to maybe tidy up things a bit internally while carrying on the evangelical fervor of the prior pontificate.
Mm-hmm. Remarkable what we're watching here. If you've been lucky enough to be inside the Sistine Chapel, you know the grandeur of the moment in the ceiling above you, Dana.
It really is so spectacular, and we want to bring in Bishop John Bonnici. He's from the Archdiocese of New York, and get your thoughts and reflections this morning as the Cardinals continue to file into the Sistine Chapel.
Good morning, Dana. Good morning, Bill. It's great to be with you on this very special day. I mean, the images of the Cardinals processing into the Sistine Chapel are absolutely remarkable. And it is indeed a unique day where these men, different ages, different backgrounds, are coming together in a true prayerful spirit, literally surrendering themselves to the Holy Spirit. And as Bill said earlier, just the chant of "Come, Holy Spirit," repeated over and over again. The surroundings of the Sistine, the great artistry and masterpieces of Michelangelo and others, helps the Cardinals now to focus on what matters most, and that is their duty, their humble duty to now come together and choose the successor of Peter. And that certainly is no easy task. But I do believe, Cardinal Giovanni Battista Re's homily, which took place earlier today, kind of set the tone for their eminences as they make their way into the chapel, because he reminded them first and foremost that they need to trust in the Holy Spirit. And under the gaze of the Blessed Mother and her protection and the intercession of all the saints who we are praying to at this very moment in the litany, they now need to allow the Holy Spirit to offer wisdom, and fortitude, and all those gifts that are necessary to make this choice.
Bishop Bonnici, go ahead and answer the question of the moment. And just so our audience knows, this is the feed we're getting from the Vatican. It's not going to go on much longer, but we do have the opportunity to see the beauty that was built so many centuries ago. Bishop Bonnici, what is the direction of the Church? What is the consensus for the next time?
The direction of the Church is to allow the Spirit to lead us forward, to embrace the traditions of the past, certainly the deposit of faith, Scripture, tradition, and the teaching of the magisterium, but to reach out. Cardinal Ray made it very clear. He said, right now, everyone has to put aside their personal choices, their differences, even their expectations, and focus on the Spirit, allowing God to speak to them so that they can choose the man, whoever that will be, take on the keys and move forward to a world that is truly, in need of so many things, spiritually speaking, right? We need peace where there's war. We need certainty where there's doubt. We need the ability to kind of escape the noise that surrounds us. Technology is a good thing, but it has become a huge distraction. And it's creating a lot of hardship, anxiety, and difficulty for our young people in the world, not only here in the United States, but everywhere for that matter. And so the Holy Father that is chosen will have this immense task, taking the good news, the gospel, making it relevant to the new generations, while maintaining and celebrating a long history and tradition that is the Catholic Church, not simply as a memory, but an active, engaging opportunity to experience life in a powerful way. People are searching, right, for truth, and giving them that truth, presenting it in a way that is relevant, is an enormous task. But evangelization and offering peace and justice and truth to all in need, thinking of the poor, taking care of those that are less fortunate, and reaching out, as Pope Francis did, to the peripheries, is an ongoing endeavor. So the church must move forward, but again, not alone, but accompanied by Jesus and in the Spirit.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's a big job and a long list. Yeah. To all you gentlemen, just stand by one moment as we take in what we think are likely the last visuals that we will have inside the Sistine Chapel.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.